Not only is the spelling of English words often confusing, but the way words are pronounced often causes problems for Spanish speakers. We'll try to help you with some of the more difficult ones in this episode of
Aprender Inglés con Reza y Craig.
Hello, and if you are a new listener to the podcast, you're very, very welcome. My name's Craig.
And my name's Reza.
And with nearly 50 years of teaching English between us, Reza and I are going to help you improve your English and take your grammar, your vocabulary, your pronunciation, your idioms, everything up to the next level. How are you doing, Reza?
I'm doing fine, Craig. The days of social confinement, lockdown are going quicker now, don't you think?
Yes, I agree. We're in some kind of a routine, habits. I'm still sitting at home, still watching too much Netflix. I'm still sleeping far too much and getting up very late in the morning, but everything's more or less okay.
Have you finished watching all of The Crown on Netflix?
I have. It was very, very enjoyable. And I don't know what I'm going to watch next, but I'm sure I'll find something to watch. What are you watching at the moment?
Well, something I've just finished watching, but it'll be back. I'm sure they're going to make a new season. Season is series. Is what they call in English Money Heist. Have you seen that?
I haven't. Is it recommended?
Really good. It's a Spanish series, actually. It's very well known in Spain. The original title in Spanish is, what is it? La Casa del Papel, is it? La Casa del Papel, I think.
So do you watch it in Spanish?
I do, yeah, because I always prefer original version. And although I'm no expert, as listeners know, I think my Spanish is okay to watch a series in Spanish. I highly recommend it, Craig. It's brilliant. Really, really good.
I will try it. I'll definitely. Is it Money Heist in English?
Money Heist. That's Heist. A heist is when people somehow illegally rob someplace. A heist. Money Heist.
I will check it out. And for people who are wanting to improve their English at home while they have more time to spare, more time on their hands, if that is you, then why not go to our sponsors italki and find an English teacher who can teach you using Skype or Zoom or other internet video software. What is italki? That's a good question. Well, italki is a website where you can get connected with a teacher who will help you improve your English. You study when you want to study, whenever you have spare time, which I'm guessing at the moment is most days, but you can schedule the classes in the morning, in the afternoon, on whatever day you feel like studying. You can have classes every day if you want to, or once a week or twice a week. So basically you are in control of your learning, and the teacher you choose on italki will plan lessons around your needs. So if you want to focus on your reading skills, your listening skills, your speaking skills, just tell the teacher and the teacher will plan a lesson for you. If you would like to find out more about italki, they are offering to listeners of this podcast a $10 free credit when you sign up and pay for your first class. So go to inglespodcast.com/310 for this episode, and you'll see an italki image and a link. Click on either of those and go to their website. When you sign up through this podcast, you get your free credit. And please let us know if you do try the service, what you think of your experience. We'd be very interested to hear about how you got on with your italki teacher. And Reza and I would like to thank you very much for supporting this podcast.
Well, Craig, before we get down to the main topic of difficult words for Spanish speakers, we've got some feedback all the way from Peru. It's from George, who's actually from Venezuela, but he's been living in Lima, Peru for a while.
Hi, Reza and Craig. I'm George from Venezuela. I'm living right now in Lima, Peru. I came across with your podcast by Spotify, I have been listening to you about 2 or 3 months ago. I started to listen all the podcasts from 2018, 2019, and the recent podcasts from 2020. Right now, I'm listening all the podcasts from 2017. I can listen to you between 2.5 and more than 5 hours per day at work. I have maybe a suggestion to you. You can make a podcast reading some sentence or short books so we can repeat after you. It's my suggestion. Congrats. It's an amazing work that you have been doing. Please don't give up. I'm an alcoholic, I think. And yeah, that's it. Bye bye.
Thank you very much, George, for sending us your message. It was lovely to hear from you and very good pronunciation. Any comments, Reza?
Yes, George, that was very, very good. There are a few things, though, perhaps we could help you with. You said that I came across with your podcast. You're using the phrasal verb there, I came across. But you added the word with. That's not right. We say, I came across your podcast. So no with.
What does come across mean as a phrasal verb?
If you come across something, that means you discover it or you find it by chance, by accident. So you're not looking for it, but you find it anyway.
So you could say, I came across a really good series on Netflix, for example.
Yes, you weren't looking, but it seemed good and you decided to watch it. Or the other day, I came across an old photo from 30 years ago. I wasn't looking for it, but there it was, and I find it interesting. I came across an old photo.
Also, George, you said I have been listened to you about 2 or 3 months ago. There's some confusion there with the tenses and the time references. It's better to use the present continuous tense. I've been listening. It's a continuous action. You've been continuously listening to us over a period of time until now. It started in the past. You are listening now. So there's that connection between the past and now. Use present perfect. I've been listening. And the time expression, if you're speaking about the time that you have been listening, use for. So I've been listening to you for about 2 or 3 months. If you're speaking about the point of time in the past, use since. I've been listening to you since January, or I've been listening to you since February. If you want to use the past simple, use the time expression ago and the past simple. I started listening to you 2 or 3 months ago.
Yes, and it's very important, as Craig said, you got to add the word started. Not I listened to you. I started listening to you 3 months ago. So 3 months ago, you started. So the action of starting was 3 months ago. But then you have been listening for 3 months.
And if you want to speak about now, which you did, George, you said, right now I'm listen. Use the continuous, present continuous. Right now I'm listening to you. So now, at the moment, I'm listening to you. So be careful, George, of those verb tenses and also the time expressions that go with those verb tenses.
George, I think you said my suggest is. That's not quite right because suggest is a verb. So we need a noun. So you need to say my suggestion is. Or you could use the verb, but then you would say I. I suggest. So I, the subject, with the verb suggest.
And your suggestion, George, you suggested that we read some sentences or maybe a short book to practice pronunciation. That's a good suggestion. And we do that actually in the Mansion Inglés newsletter. So if you want to go to mansioningles.com, we have a newsletter every month that we send out, and you will find very short parts of books that you can listen to and practice your listening and repeat exactly as you said. If you want to practice your pronunciation with this podcast, then you can quite easily pause and go back 30 seconds. On most audio players, you have the option of jumping back 30 seconds or 60 seconds. So you could just pause it, go back, listen, repeat, pause it, go back, listen, repeat. And you can use the audio player as a way of practicing your pronunciation and hearing many times what we're saying to repeat and improve. There's one more suggestion I'll give you. There's a website called englishclub.com, and they have very good short reading stories that you might be interested in using to practice your pronunciation and your speaking. So there's a link in the show notes. It's called English Club. And for that link, go to inglespodcast.com/310. And there's also a link there to the Mansion Inglés website for the sign up to receive the Cuaderno, the monthly newsletter, in your inbox by email. So this lesson we wanted to focus a little on pronunciation, in particular some difficult words that you may have problems with as Spanish speakers. And we have made quite a few podcasts around pronunciation problems and issues, haven't we, Reza? Can you think of any that we could refer people to if they want to improve their pronunciation?
So one very important aspect of pronunciation to get right is the pronunciation of verbs in the past. We've done an episode on both the pronunciation of regular verbs, that's episode 60, and the pronunciation of irregular verbs, that's episode 73. So if you go to inglespodcast.com/60 for regular verbs and /73, the pronunciation of irregular verbs.
We've also looked at the differences between the way British English and American English is pronounced and some language differences. Go to inglespodcast.com/81 for that episode.
Another very important aspect of English language that we've covered is the pronunciation, or we should say the non-pronunciation, of silent letters. English has letters which are written, but they're not pronounced. Think of the word night, for example, noche, N-I-G-H-T. The G is silent. So is the H, night. So the episode on the pronunciation of silent letters is episode 86. 86.
I thought you were going to say there is a night caballero, which is with a silent K, K-N-I-G-H-T.
That's true, another silent letter, yeah.
Also, we've looked at another important aspect of pronunciation. Why is English sometimes so difficult to understand when you hear it? Well, it's because of linking sounds in connected speech, when the sounds kind of go together and it's very difficult to hear the individual words. So if you want to practice that, go to inglespodcast.com/132.
Another aspect, which is entertaining, which is good fun, is tongue twisters. I think in Spanish it's trabalenguas, isn't that it? Tongue twisters. To twist is when something moves around so much that it's kind of impossible to straighten it. So if you imagine your tongue moving around so much that it gets twisted, it gets all kind of bent and you can't move it properly. So saying tongue twisters to improve your pronunciation is very useful to make you really, really concentrate on getting the right pronunciation. Saying things like Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers and things like that. You can find that out on episode 271. 271.
And for some words that are commonly mispronounced by Spanish speakers, go to episode 94. So commonly mispronounced words can be found at inglespodcast.com/94. But today we're going to focus on more words that are difficult to pronounce. And if you want to see these words written, go to the show notes for this episode, and they can be found at inglespodcast.com/310. Firstly is podcasts. We get lots of feedback from you saying, we've been listening to your podcast, and thank you for your podcast. But many times, particularly if you're a native Spanish speaker, it's confused with the word postcard, which we don't really send anymore. When was the last time you got a postcard, Reza?
Oh, a very long time ago, about 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't confuse those two words, and they are quite tricky. They are quite difficult because of the consonants that are together in the middle of the word. So postcard is carta, and podcast is what you're listening to, podcast.
There's another group of words which is difficult to pronounce, for Spanish speakers anyway. That is things like this. I'll give you an example. A sentence, two sentences. A very common mistake is for a Spanish speaker to say a sentence, two sentences. And they forget that if it's plural, you need to add an extra syllable. A sentence, 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 that's two syllables. But two sentences, sentences, that's three syllables. And the reason that happens probably is because the word sentence, I'm exaggerating, sentence ends in a s sound, which sounds plural because plurals end in an S. Books, boys, travels. So that's probably why sometimes people forget that that is not plural. I need to make another vowel sound and add another s. So the plural becomes sentences. And that's a very typical Spanish speaker's mistake. So there are lots of words like that. Sentence, sentences, conference, conferences, acquaintance, acquaintances, coincidence, coincidences. They all end in a s sound. And then similar, but not exactly the same, are words which end in a j sound. So not exactly so, but kind of similar. Language, for example. A language. English is a very important language. Spanish is also an important language. English and Spanish are two important languages. So people forget to add the extra vowel sound for that. So language, two syllables. Languages, three syllables. There's a couple of other words we could give as examples similar to that. Language, languages. Garage, garages. Voyage, voyages, etc. So be careful with the plural to add the extra vowel sound.
I've noticed you pronounced Garage as garage.
Yep.
Of course, people who come from the Queen's upper class, the kind of people you might hear speak in The Crown, might say garage. So the question is,
Yes.
what's the plural if you're very, very posh and you went to Eton or Cambridge or Oxford and you don't say garage like we do, you say garage. Would it be garages?
It would be, yeah. One garage, two garages. Yeah.
I have all of my Rolls Royces and my Ferraris in my garages.
Yeah, that would be it, in fact.
Another common mistake is with suggest, and the middle consonant sound is j, as in January, June, July, Jane, Jesus, for example. So suggest, suggest. Reza, what do you suggest we do to keep fit if we're stuck indoors? What do you suggest?
I suggest that you get up and walk about every hour, even if you don't have to. Just make the effort of getting up and walking about for a minute or two and sitting down again. That's my suggestion.
I think that's a very, very good suggestion. Reza and I both teach English at the same language academy when we when we go to teach, which at the moment we're not, but we are colleagues because we work together. We're colleagues. Don't confuse the pronunciation of colleague with college. A college is similar to a university. It's a place of learning. I teach at a college with colleagues.
Yes, another typical pair that are confused for Spanish speakers are walk, andar, and work, trabajar. Walk and work. Actually, there are other words like walk, which seem to be tricky for foreigners to pronounce, because when you see it written and you see the L, you want to pronounce it, right? You want to say walk, but it's not. Don't say that. Say walk or talk, chalk, etc. So there are quite a few words with ALK and they're pronounced like walk.
Do you walk to work?
Sometimes I do, but I often go by bus.
I walk to work on Tuesdays, but I don't walk to work on Thursdays. Be careful of the pronunciation of those 2 days of the week. Ch, ch, like a train, like a CH sound, ch, ch, Tuesday, Tuesday, and put your tongue between your teeth for Thursday, el jueves, Thursday, Tuesday and Thursday.
Yes, very often I really honestly don't know what day my students are saying because some Spanish speakers have invented something which is kind of in the middle. And honestly, we don't understand you. So I say, when will I see you for the next class? And my Spanish student might say, okay, we meet Thursday. And I honestly don't know if they're saying Tuesday or Thursday. They think I'm just trying to be difficult, saying, oh, come on, you must understand me. But I don't. It's like an exact mixture of 50% Tuesday and 50% Thursday, and you get Thursday. And I don't know what to say.
Maybe because it's a mixture, what they're really saying is Wednesday, because it's something it's something in the middle of Tuesday, Tuesday and Thursday. So Wednesday can be difficult too. Wednesday, because the spelling is strange. It's Wednesday, and the pronunciation Wednesday, Wednesday. So the D is silent.
Craig, what day comes after Thursday?
Friday. That's easy to remember because you fry fish on Friday.
Do you usually work on a Friday?
Yes, I pretty much work every day, actually.
So that brings us to our next problem. For you, Friday is not a free day.
No, it's a day of work. I know where you're going with this.
Another classic, isn't it?
Yeah.
I say, okay, when shall we meet next? And I hear, free day. It's like, well, no, I'm not going to meet you on my free day, am I? I don't work then. But people are trying to say Friday. Friday, viernes, not free day. A free day would be un día libre. So don't confuse Friday and free day.
Just remember the verb to fry fish.
And indeed, it's an old tradition to fry fish on a Friday, isn't it?
Yep. So if you remember that verb to fry, you know it's usually done on a Friday. You fry your fish on a Friday because it's the day you fry. A confusing word which is a false friend is library. Also not easy to say, library, because librería in Spanish is a bookshop and biblioteca is a library.
Another word which often gives problems is a very important word, money. Money, money, money. What makes the world go round? Money, M-O-N-E-Y. But I often hear Spanish speakers say money or something like that. Money. No, it's money.
Another confusing vowel sound is B-U-S-Y, which is I. So it's busy. I'm very busy. I'm busy making money.
And if you're making money, then that's good business. Another word which is often mispronounced. Business, spelt B-U-S-I-N-E-S-S. But the I is not pronounced, is it? It's business. B-U-S-I-N-E-S-S is pronounced business.
And being busy or making money should, with some people, and often is, a priority. And that could be difficult because of the syllables. It has 4 syllables, priority, and it's the second syllable that's strong. So we say priority, priority.
Another very important thing in modern life, in fact, it's so important that if it didn't exist, we wouldn't be able to record this podcast right now, is Wi-Fi.
Don't you mean Wi-Fi?
I definitely mean Wi-Fi. But so many Spanish speakers have said it the incorrect way that Craig just said, but it's not. It's Wi-Fi. That's kind of logical if you know the origins of it, because it's wireless fidelity. So Wi-Fi.
Another word with 4 syllables like priority and the same stress pattern. We speak about stress patterns when the stress falls in the same place, the same syllable, is biologist. Biologist. So again, 4 syllables, stress the second syllable, biologist. And also this time of the coronavirus, you may be making lots of trips to the chemist. So that CH has a K sound, chemist and chemistry. So we go to the chemist to buy medicine.
Yes, indeed, Craig. CH is a tricky couple of letters to pronounce in English. Chemist is K. But then other words with CH can have different sounds. For example, chat, CHAT, is a different sound to K, chemist, but both begin with the letter CH. Chemist, K, chat, ch. That's quite easy for Spanish people to say chat. What's not so easy are the following words. Chef, champagne, chalet. Words like that are tricky for Spanish speakers because that CH is sh. It's not the same as ch, like chat. It's a different sound. It's sh, like she or shall. Chef, champagne, chalet.
Numbers are often difficult to pronounce, especially ordinal numbers. I live in an apartment block, a block of flats, on floor number 4. So the ordinal is 4th. So 4 with a TH. I live on the 4th floor. Number 5 is the 5th. Number 6 is the 6th. Number 7 is the 7th, etc. What floor do you live on, Reza?
I also live on the 4th floor. For me, it's much easier if you just think that the last sound is th with your tongue between your teeth, like Spanish Zaragoza. Th. So just say the rest of the word first and then add the th. So say, for example, 4 and then add th. 4, th. So do it quickly. 4th. 6th, th. 6th, etc.
And that's the correct way to pronounce those ordinals. But if you're having problems with your mouth getting your tongue between your teeth quickly enough, you could just put the letter F or the sound F at the end and you'll get a very similar effect. So 4th, 7th, 8th. It's not correct, but it could be a way if you're really struggling, if it's really difficult, you could use the F sound.
There are many native speakers who actually do that.
Especially people from the south of England and me coming from London, a lot of my friends will say 9th, 10th.
And lots of other words that end in th. You hear some people from kind of the southeast of England say a f sound.
Another problem with numbers is the difference between 50, for example, and 15. So 50 and 15. And 60 and 16. The difference is the stress. With the teens, 13, 14, 15, the stress is on the second syllable. So 2 syllables, yeah? 15, 16, 17, 18. With the other numbers, the zeros, put the stress on the first syllable. 30, 40, 50, 60. So we have the contrast 60, 16, 70, 17. And that will help to make your numbers clearer to the listener.
Now, the next word on our list, Craig wrote this word, not me, but I'm guessing he wrote it for a good reason. Only he knows how to say the word because he wrote it. The word is Minute. But there are two ways to pronounce that spelling.
Ah, so you're suggesting we might say it differently?
Yep. It depends where you're using it. Depends on the use.
Okay.
If you, I presume that's why you wrote it, right?
No, but you're absolutely
No?
right.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I just presumed that's all right. Putting words into your mouth.
I wasn't thinking about that, but you're absolutely right, Reza. So my problem with this word, with Spanish speakers, with possible problems, the word is minute, 60 seconds. There are 60 seconds in a minute, but the second vowel is a U. So it sounds like minute. It's not, it's minute. But you were thinking of something different, weren't you, Reza?
Yeah, you see, it could be minute, which means tiny, very small. It's exactly the same spelling, but it's different pronunciation. This is a very, 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 very small particle. It's minute.
So, of course, the stress changes when you're speaking about time and 60 seconds. The stress is on the first syllable, minute. But with Reza's example, it falls on the second syllable, minute. It's a minute piece of cake you've just given me.
Now, the next word is a classic, gives lots of problems. Niece, niece. Niece. If you are an uncle or an aunt, then you perhaps have a niece.
Do you have a niece?
I do. I have three nieces. And I have one nephew. Nieces are females and nephews are males. So nieces and nephews, they are your brothers or sisters' children.
Are your nieces nice? Are they nice nieces?
They are nice nieces. They're very nice nieces. Sounds weird, but what Craig says is a perfectly acceptable sentence in English. He asked me if my nieces are nice. Si son buenas, si son buenas personas, si son bonitas. Yes, my nieces are very nice.
Staying with family, the word cousin can cause problems because of the spelling. Cousin. I have cousins in the UK. I have many cousins in the north of England. So Cousin, the pronunciation is cousin.
Now, the next group of words, singular and plural, both give problems. And you really, listeners, please, please, please get these words right, because it's one of the absolutely most important words in the English language. You're going to use it a lot, and yet speakers keep getting it wrong, and it causes great confusion to us native speakers.
Even advanced level students make this mistake, yeah?
Proficiency. I've had C2 students who have excellent pronunciation in most things, but it comes to these really, really important basic words, and they still keep getting it wrong. They are mujer, woman, mujeres, women. Very important to make a difference between the singular and the plural. Singular, woman, woman. Plural, women, women.
If you imagine many, many different women swimming, you the sounds very, very similar. Swimming and women is similar vowel sounds. So yeah, they're swimming. They're women swimming. The women are swimming, and have that picture in your mind, and that will help you make a difference between one woman and many women swimming.
It's funny you should say that, right? You said, imagine many women swimming. In fact, that's a recurring dream of mine. I often do have a dream where many, many women are swimming, but I don't want to go into too much detail about what else happens in that dream. But yes, lots of women swimming.
Are you swimming with the women, or are you watching the women swimming?
First, I'm merely watching, but then I begin to swim and take part in the action. Let's not go into detail in that dream, but that's a good example from Craig.
See, that's what happens when you spend too much time sleeping at home during the lockdown, during the coronavirus lockdown. You end up dreaming of women swimming. Reza's a good friend of mine. Be careful the pronunciation of friend because there are two vowels in the middle, I and E, so it's Friend. And of course, when you're reading Spanish, you're reading every vowel, but not in English. It's only one vowel sound. So repeat after me, friend. He's my friend.
Now, another classic, boat.
Same problem, two vowels.
Yeah, boat. So many people, oh, look in the sea, there is a boat. No. It's a boat. It's the same sound as words like go or no or phone. Boat. Aren't English vowels tricky?
They are
really tricky.
Very tricky. We spoke earlier on about the problems with the TH sound with the ordinals, with fourth and fifth and sixth. Another very difficult word is ropa in English, clothes, because you have to change the position of your mouth and your tongue with the O and then the th with the TH sound with your teeth, with your teeth between your tongue. No, with your tongue between your teeth to say the word clothes. And there's also some vibration going on in the throat. Again, you may find it easier to just say close, cerrar, to close the door, because of the context. Everybody will understand that you mean ropa and you don't mean cerrar. So if you say, oh, you've got some new clothes, and you're saying close, it really sounds like clothes. So if you're having difficulty pronouncing that word clothes, but do practice that because that's the correct way to say it. If that's difficult for you, just say clothes. The problem with some Spanish speakers is that you make it two syllables and you say clothes, and that's wrong. That's very confusing for an English speaker.
And just to confuse you a bit more, don't say cloths, because a cloth, cloth, is un trapo, a piece of material you use for maybe cleaning something in your kitchen. And if you had two of those, dos trapos, that would be two cloths. But it's not the same pronunciation as ropa, clothes. So you wear clothes, and in your kitchen, you use cloths. Can you hear the difference?
And George, at the beginning of the podcast, asked us to say some short stories or sentences that he can repeat. Well, here's one for you, George. Try repeating this a couple of times. I need some new clothes, but the clothes shop is closed. I need some new clothes, but the clothes shop is closed. Repeat that a few times. That will help you with the two pronunciations. What have you got for lunch today, Reza? Have you got any fish?
I have. I'm going to eat some salmon.
Salmon?
Salmon.
Lucky man.
Now, how might I spell that? Salmon.
Well, it does have an L in the middle. It's Salmon. And even though the word is very similar in Spanish, the temptation is to pronounce that L, but it is actually silent. So we don't say salmon, we say salmon. I'm going to eat some salmon.
Another word similar to that is almond. Almendra. Almond, also A-L-M-O-N-D. Almond.
Two words that are often confused with the same spelling, L-I-V-E. So we have the verb to live, which is vivir. I live in Valencia. I live in a flat. I live with my partner. And the adjective or adverb, live, L-I-V-E. So we speak about live music. If you go to a concert, then the band is playing live. Or if you go to Facebook, you might have a Facebook live. So same spelling, different pronunciation and different use.
And then, just to confuse you a little bit more, there's the noun from to live, which is life, L-I-F-E. For example, we have a good life in Spain. Usually, when there's not a lockdown because of coronavirus, we usually have a good life, una vida. And if I have a good life and Craig has a good life, that's two good lives. So L-I-V-E-S could be pronounced two lives, or it could be he lives, L-I-V-E-S, with different pronunciation.
We spoke about silent letters earlier, let's look at two words that have a silent B that's sometimes confusing. So cordero in English is lamb. Lamb. It's spelled L-A-M-B, but the B is not pronounced. So we say lamb. I'm going to have some lamb for lunch. Or look at those lambs playing in the field. So be careful not to pronounce that B or make it sound like a P, because lamp is lámpara, another word completely. And another word with a silent B is climb, escalar. So C-L-I-M-B, the B is silent, climb. I'm climbing the ladder, or let's climb to the top.
Another word which has silent letters and is very difficult to pronounce if you do not know it is the word subtle. The spelling is S-U-B-T-L-E. So first of all, the letter B is silent. The B is silent. But as well as that, the L comes before the E when you write it. But when you pronounce it, it sounds as if the L is at the end. It's pronounced subtle. Subtle.
We hope the pronunciation of these words has been useful for you. Please let us know if you found this episode useful. We'll be happy to do a repeat with some other words that are commonly confused as far as pronunciation is concerned. But now it's your turn. We would like you to practice your English now. What words are difficult for you to pronounce? Do you have any particular pronunciation problems and vocabulary that you find it very difficult to say in English? Maybe we can help you. If you do have other words that you can think of and we have not listed them here, then please let us know and we'll include them in a future podcast. Reza, how can people get in touch with us?
We like it when you send us a voice message. To do that, just go to speakpipe.com/Ingles podcast and leave us an audio voice message. But remember that there's a maximum time for that. I think it's 90 seconds. Is that right, Craig?
Yeah, 90 seconds. That's the maximum amount of time, unless you record an audio file separately and attach it to an email. If you do that, or you want to send us an email, my address is Craig, C-R-A-I-G, @inglespodcast.com, and Reza's is belfastreza, R-E-Z-A, @gmail.com.
Also, an interesting place that you might like to visit, particularly if you're under lockdown when you listen to this, is the Mansión Inglés store. Go to store, S-T-O-R-E, mansioningles.net. And there you will find a range of books and audio which might interest you to further improve your English skills.
Before we leave you and walk out the door, not physically walk out the door, but just say goodbye, we'd like to thank you very much to all of the people who are supporting us on Patreon. Now, we don't have the time to list everyone who's supporting us, but we do want to say thank you to our most recent subscribers on patreon.com/Ingles podcast. Reza, who's joined us this month?
Yes, a big thanks to our most recent sponsors, who are Jose Manuel, Santiago Casas Rey, Martorell, Ana Ruiz Cáceres, BM, Paulina B, Karina Corrales, Belén, Jose, Ana Paula Moreira, Marisol, and Miguel Garcia de Leon.
If you would like to join that illustrious list of Patreon supporters, you're more than welcome to go to patreon.com, patreon.com/Ingles podcast, where for as little as $1 per month, you can join them and get instant access to recent transcriptions of this podcast. Reza, what are we speaking about next week?
Next week, we're talking about a country, Chile.
We've had a request to speak about Chile, which is very exciting for me because I've actually been there, so I'm really looking forward to speaking about the wonders of Chile. Please join us next week. Thank you for listening this week. Until then, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
The music in this podcast is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later.